Hello, my name is Dennis, and welcome to my trailer park white trash mobile home kitchen. I really do live in a mobile home, in a trailer park, and this is my kitchen. I have a milestone coming up. I believe this one is the 2-year anniversary of my creating my website, whitetrashcooking.com. And I like to celebrate milestones by making biscotti. Today I'm going to be making a hazelnut and dried cranberry biscotti. If you're not familiar with a biscotti, it is a dried pastry. It comes out of the olden days when they didn't have the food preservation technology that we have today. So they would dry things out like bread. The idea being that by removing the moisture, they could eliminate the causes for molding, which would spoil their bread. So biscotti came out of that. It's a sweet pastry, sort of a cookie thing, that is so dry and hard that you typically eat it by dipping it in something like hot coffee or tea. And because today is a celebration, I'm going to wear a festive apron today. So let's get into the ingredients that I'm going to be using for making my hazelnut and dried cranberry biscotti. For the biscotti, I have 10 ounces, 280 grams of whole hazelnuts, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, 4 cups, 20 ounces, 570 grams of all-purpose flour, 1/2 teaspoon salt, 1 1/2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1 3/4 cups, 350 grams sugar, 2 cups, 255 grams of dried cranberries. I have 4 large eggs plus a 5th egg. This 5th egg I'm going to be separating. The yolk will go into the biscotti, and I'm going to be reserving the white. And then I have 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. For garnish, I'm going to be using this egg white to make an egg wash, and then I have 2 tablespoons of raw sugar. I like this crystally look of raw sugar as a garnish on top of biscotti. So those are the ingredients I'm using today. I've been heating in my ugly saucepan with the broken handle that's held on by a wire harness some water. I keep hoping that some manufacturer like Allclad will send me a set of their best pots and pans to feature in my videos, but I can go on dreaming. So in my boiling water, I'm going to put my baking soda. This is going to bubble up, whoosh, like that. And then I'm going to put my hazelnuts in there. And when this comes back up to a boil, I'm going to reduce this down to a simmer and simmer these for 3 minutes, and that will loosen those skins so they can easily be peeled off. My hazelnuts now have finished boiling. I used 3 cups of water, by the way, in that pan. And then I have some cold water here, which you can see I also added some ice cubes to keep it cold. So I'm using a wire strainer, otherwise known as a spider, to take my hazelnuts out of that pan. And I just want to let these cool down a little bit, and then I'll be ready to start skinning them. The easy way to skin these hazelnuts now is just to kind of rub them between a bit of paper towel, like so. It doesn't matter if they break in half because these are going to be chopped up. And that's how easily they peel. You can see that peel comes, that skin comes right off. Okay, so I have this whole bowl of hazelnuts to skin. In the meantime, I'm heating my oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 175 degrees Celsius, because I'm going to need to roast my hazelnuts. So there are my hazelnuts all skinned. I'm going to be honest with you, this took a long time. I probably spent an hour skinning all of these hazelnuts. So if you're going to do this, get everybody in the neighborhood involved. Now I've got a baking sheet prepared. As I mentioned, my oven is heating up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 175 roughly Celsius. I'm going to roast these for at least 10 minutes. I might even go 15. I want to get these well roasted, nice golden color, and well dried out. I mean, these were boiling in water, and I need to chop these up in a food processor. So I want them a little bit on the crisp side. My hazelnuts have had a chance to cool down now a little bit after being in the oven. So I want to chop these up till most of them are about the consistency of breadcrumbs, but I still have some larger chunks that'll add some texture and interest to the consistency of my biscotti. Okay, I'm not sure whether you can see that or not, but I've reduced this down quite a bit, but there are some larger chunks in there. As I mentioned, it'll add some interest, but a lot of this has been reduced down to the texture of breadcrumbs. I also want to chop up my cranberries a little bit too, but I just want to give those a light chop because I don't want to reduce those down too much. And that'll be enough, and that is looking so good already. So there's my texture. These are reduced down somewhat to smaller pieces. They're not whole cranberries, but they've also been cut up some. I want to combine some of my dry ingredients here, so I put my flour in a large bowl. There's my baking powder and my salt. And just kind of blend that in a little bit. And then set this aside. Now in a smaller bowl, I'm going to put my sugar. These are the 4 eggs and that additional egg yolk. I reserve the egg white for an egg wash. I don't know that that additional egg yolk is all that necessary in this recipe, but why waste it? And then of course I just added my vanilla extract. Get those yolks broken up and then combine this until it's smooth. Now I want to combine these two. Like so. This is when this mixture starts to turn into a real sticky, gooey mess. And you'll see when I get into shaping the loaves of biscotti. And get flour on the counter, that's required. Start combining this until it comes together. You don't have to get this thoroughly mixed up at this point, because we have more mixing to do, just until the most of the flour is incorporated. So there it is. That's pretty much where I need it at this point. Now I'm going to start working in my hazelnuts and my dried cranberries, and this is where it gets really sticky and interesting. I'm going to start combining this dough. So I've dusted my counter there with a little bit of flour. This is why you need to knead it, see, because this is all flour from the bottom of the bowl. And then just start folding and kneading to work in all those ingredients. This is going to be a real sticky dough. I mean, dry but sticky. Okay, I think I'm just about done with the kneading. Let me get a bench scraper and scrape this countertop up. Get my hands rinsed. That's not too bad. I've worked with stickier biscotti dough. Okay, and then I want to divide this into 2 roughly equal portions. So there's one. And there's my other. If you wanted to, you could weigh those to make sure that they're equal, but those look close enough to me. This is where it helps to wet your hands a little bit. I want to shape this into a loaf that's going to be about 16 inches long. That's about 41 centimeters. I've got a baking sheet prepared on the side with parchment paper in it. So that's not too bad. By wetting my hands, it doesn't stick too badly. And now I'm going to place this on my baking sheet and do my second loaf. So there are my two loaves. There's my egg white. I mixed that up with about a tablespoon of water. And I have a pastry brush here that I'm going to use to garnish these. I'm going to start off by just painting the center top. I'm going to add another garnish, optional garnish, to these today. I'm going to decorate them with almonds. It's purely optional. The only reason why I'm doing this is because I just remembered I have almonds up in the cupboard and they are so old that if I don't use them up, they're not going to be any good anymore. So I'm going to start placing my almonds on here at an angle because I'm going to be cutting these at an angle. And with maybe just a quarter of an inch space between them. I'll do a close-up so you can see those almonds. So here's my close-up now of my almonds going on. Again, I'm placing them at an angle and I'm picking whatever I think is going to be the better side of these almonds because they are being used for garnish on top. So to finish this garnish, once again I'm going to paint these with egg white. Now I can cover the whole top because now my last step here is to sprinkle. Whoa. Okay, I captured that raw sugar that I spilled. And I'm going to finish up the garnish on that. All right. I've heated my oven up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 175 degrees Celsius. And these are going to be heated or baked in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes on a rack in an upper part of the oven. Not clear up to the top, but the upper third of the oven. Okay, so there are my biscotti out of the oven. I need to let these cool down a little bit. Okay, so this is cooled down enough that I can handle this fairly comfortably. As I mentioned earlier when I was laying the almonds in place, I put them at an angle because I want to cut in between the almonds, like so. So that each individual slice of biscotti has that almond on the top, and that's what it looks like on the inside. This still has to be dried. I turned down the temperature on the oven to 275 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 135 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to bake these for 40 to 45 minutes. I'll show you how they get arranged on a cookie sheet for that second baking. So there are my biscotti, all sliced, ready to go back into the oven. Obviously, I've placed these on a baking sheet again with space in between. That's so that I get some air circulation. I need these to dry out. So there they are. If I remember correctly, I got about 39 biscotti out of that. These have had a chance to cool down now. They did sit in the oven for 45 minutes to thoroughly dry out. In the meantime, I made a cup of coffee for myself. Now I'm ready to try these and see how they taste. So there is my coffee. Nice piece of biscotti. Dip that.
That definitely tastes like dried cranberries. It's sweet, it's dry, it's delicious, a little on the tart side from the cranberries. I can taste the hazelnuts in there and see them in there. Okay, excuse me. I gotta go enjoy my coffee and hazelnut and dried cranberry biscotti.
For a printable PDF copy of this recipe with step-by-step photographs, visit the White Trash Cooking website and look on the home page or in the recipe archive.